Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's Nebula presentation. If we go through today, feel free to ask questions. Do that using the question and answer interface in Zoom. Do not use chat. It's not easy for me to see chat as we go through, but I can see questions sent in with questions and answer. So I'll go ahead and get started with today's presentation. So today we're talking about Nebula. So Nebula is our cloud managed networking solution. It's designed to simplify your life, make things go easier, smoother, and require a lot less output on your part. So Nebula was the first, as they're calling it here, full stack cloud network solution designed for SMB. So originally out there was Meraki, and there was Arrowhive, and that was about it. And both of those were aimed at the time at the enterprise space. So we launched Nebula all the way back in 2016, aimed at the SMB space. And since then, we've continued to constantly refine it, add new features, add new products that can be supported. So Nebula consists of Zyxel branded security gateways, switches, access points, UTM firewalls. And then on the management side of things, we have Nebula Control Center, often abbreviated NCC. That is where you do all of your control and management of your Nebula enabled devices. And we also have a mobile app that's optimized for phone use for iOS and Android. So the idea behind Nebula here is to make things easier, smoother, save you time and money compared to a normal network installation. So you can see here, setting up and installing the equipment is simpler for you as there's no local configuration required in most cases. There's no need for monitoring equipment. Don't need to set up remote access. It's all handled through the cloud. Our cloud solution here can act as your monitoring platform. We can store the logs in the cloud up to a year. We make it easier for you to push out changes doing OTA updates and provide some basic user management as well. So let's go through a little bit more in depth on some of these features. So first one here is setup without unboxing. So one of the nice things here with Nebula is you don't have to configure the device itself directly. Instead, everything's done through the cloud. So you don't even have to take the product out of the box if you want to start configuring it. Simply use the mobile app, scan the QR code that you can find on the outside of the box, and then assign it to your customer and their network. And that's all you really need to do. So we have a lot of customers that will have the product shipped to them at their offices. Then when it's ready to go out to a customer locations, they simply scan the QR code and ship it out to the customer site for the actual hardware installation itself. You can go ahead and start configuring things even before the device has ever been turned on or plugged in. So with Nebula, everything can get up and running here in just a few minutes. We've got some basic configs that by default will be loaded on devices that'll get them up and running. We've got a number of wizards to simplify more advanced configuration. So I used to do a demo back when I used to travel. And maybe we'll be resuming that again here, where I could create a Nebula account and set up a basic wireless network with a guest network access complete with terms of service agreement page in less than 5 minutes from start to finish. So the Nebula software is essentially is baked into the hardware itself. So there's nothing additional you need. So there's no needs for a wireless LAN controller, a CNA device, cloud keys, software needing to be run on a local PC or server, nothing like that. All Nebula devices automatically reach out to the cloud by themselves. They need nothing more other than an internet connection. So Nebula, again, it's designed to be managed through the cloud. So anywhere you've got access to a web browser and an internet connection, you have access to all of your customers and all of their networks. The default Nebula here includes guest access. So whether you're trying to provide guest access at a coffee shop or you're trying to provide guest access for vendors visiting one of your customers, we've got a lot of flexibility with how we do that with our captive portal. We have the ability to have people agree to a terms of service page, have people log in with a username and password, have people self-register, have people log in with Facebook. All of this can be done with Nebula. We've got a basic landing page with some simple stuff that you can configure. But if you want to have a completely custom page, you can absolutely do that as well. On the wireless side of things, we offer smart mesh technology. So you can put up access points in locations where you don't have Ethernet backhaul to them. And those APs that don't have Ethernet backhaul will automatically find other APs wirelessly and generate a mesh. We support WPA2 and on our Wi-Fi 6 APs, WPA3 Enterprise. So that's using the individual username and passwords for each wireless user. So if you have somebody, leave the company, you don't have to change the password for everybody. And we support all the industry standards for roaming and fast roaming. So it'll work with, Wi-Fi applications. I'm doing voice and things like that, no problem at all. On the switch side of things, we have intelligent PoE, the ability to monitor PoE devices, find out what their actual power draw is, and then only allocate enough power to power those devices, freeing up additional power. So you can put more devices on the same switch using the same power budget than you could otherwise. And we've got a number of different network protection features here. Things like 802.1x authentication on the switch, loop guard, DHCP server guard, etc. And all your configuration is done through the cloud. This includes also firmware updates, configuration changes. So again, there's no need to go on site to change things. There's no need to VPN into the customer's location. It's all done through the cloud. We also have simplified VPN. So we make it really easy to do site-to-site VPN. Simply select the sites you want to link together, choose the network topology you want to use, and we'll handle the rest. For remote users connecting via their own work computers or their own mobile devices, we have the ability to send out a script via email, which will automatically configure their device to connect back to the corporate network. This works on iOS, Macintosh, and Windows. It does not work on Android. So Nebula was designed from the ground up to handle multiple customers and multiple networks. We make it really easy to jump between customers and keep an eye on all of your customers with just one URL, nebula.zyxel.com. So this is showing here a view here of all of your customers. Showing you basically in this case here, this is showing you a single customer with multiple sites. So you can see a quick snapshot of what's going on in each of their individual sites. Once you drill into an individual site, you get taken to this dashboard here. So this dashboard is going to show you what's going on in that network at a quick glance. So you can see here, these are customizable. There's a little customize button, so you can choose which widgets you want to have access to. But this will show you stuff like how many devices are online versus offline, how much PoE is being used versus the PoE budget at your site. And if you're using one of our security gateways, we can show you all sorts of stuff as to which applications are using bandwidth, which users are using bandwidth, etc. You'll also notice up here, we've got these nice drop-down menus. That's where you'll find all of your customers and all of their sites. So you can very quickly jump from one customer to the next or one site to the next. This is showing here, this is our connected devices screen. So with the latest update of Nebula, we had separate pages for both wireless and wired devices. We now have the ability to combine those together into one view. This view that we're showing here is the wireless view. So you can see there, it'll show whether the user is online or off currently. It'll show you which type of device they were using to connect to, which AP they were connected to, which SSID they were connected to, signal strength, and a lot of other stuff. And again, that's all customizable. So you can choose which information you see there. Here is the switch side of things, so giving you a quick snapshot of what's going on your switches. You can see at a quick glance which switches have devices plugged into them and whether they are using PoE or not, and whether they are gigabit or fast Ethernet or not. And you can see some trends and stuff here over time, like bandwidth utilization. For configuring ports, it's really simple. You can select multiple ports across multiple switches, and then configure them all at the same time with a lot of the basic settings that you would want to do, such as your VLAN configurations, things like that. So the core Nebula functionality is free. We have no limitation on the number of devices you can manage with the free version of Nebula, or the limitation on customers, devices, sites, organizations. It's all there for you in the free version of Nebula. It works with all of our Nebula compatible devices. And most of the features we've talked about today are included in that free version of Nebula. So when you're looking at hardware, when we originally launched Nebula, we had dedicated Nebula hardware you had to buy that could only be managed through Nebula. So since then, we've introduced something called Nebula Flex. And most devices now that you would use with Nebula are going to be Nebula Flex devices. So if you see a device labeled as Nebula Flex, it tells you you can use the device in the standard way you would always manage your devices, directly accessing a web GUI, command line, SNMP, whatever it happens to be. But we also have the ability to use that same device and manage it with Nebula. So it's really easy to switch devices back and forth between standalone mode or Nebula managed mode. Um, it's literally just scanning that QR code in Nebula, assigning it to a customer and site, and it'll automatically reboot itself into cloud mode. Take it out of your Nebula cloud, and it'll automatically reboot itself in standalone mode again. You will also see products labeled Nebula Flex Pro. So Nebula Flex Pro devices include 1 year of our Pro Pack. So Pro Pack is an optional add-on which unlocks additional features in the Nebula cloud for you. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I believe, coming up here in some more slides. So you get 1 year of Pro Pack bundled with that device. In the case of our access points, these Pro devices also have another feature, which is they can be used standalone, they can be used with Nebula, they can also be managed with a wireless LAN controller, such as the wireless LAN controller that's built into almost all of our USG Zywall security appliances. So just showing here just a quick glance at our portfolio here. You'll see on the Nebula Flex side of things, it's all of our APs which start with the numbers 1 or 2. So our NWA 1123 is Nebula Flex, NWA 210AX is Nebula Flex. On the switch side of things, we have the GS 1920 V2 series, the XS 1930 series switches, and the XGS 1930 series switches. And then on the security side of things, we have our USG Flex gateways. And then on Nebula Flex Pro, it's all of our APs that start with the number 5 or 6 when it comes to the models. On the switch side of things, the GS 1350, GS 2220s, and the XS 3800s are all Nebula Flex Pro. And then if you buy a USG Flex UTM package, that includes 1 year of Nebula Pro with it as well. So let's go through Nebula licensing here. So earlier this year, we revamped how our licensing works. So we have the free version, which we're now calling Base Pack, that works with all of our devices. And we've offered since day one our Pro Pack, the professional pack. And again, we'll get more into in depth on what the feature differences are. But we also introduced here when we were revising our licenses a new Plus Pack, which unlocks some of the more requested features at a much lower price than the Pro Pack. So we've got those 3 tiers to choose from. Licensing is done on a per device basis. So every device needs to have an active license in order to be able to work. If one of your devices does not have a license on it, you will get 15 days to be able to upgrade that device by adding a license to it. But if you have any devices after that 15-day grace period that don't have an active license, it will fall back to whatever the lowest tier is. So generally the free version of Nebula. So if you've got 10 devices and only 8 of them have a Pro Pack license, it will drop back to the free version of Nebula until you add licenses to those 2 unlicensed devices. Same thing with the Plus Pack. You can combine Plus and Pro Pack on the same customer, but you will only get the Plus Pack features. So if you want Pro Pack features, every device needs to have a Pro Pack license. And again, this is done on a organization basis or a customer basis. So you can have some customers on the free version of Nebula, some customers using Plus, some customers using Pro. So here's a quick summary of some of the differences here. Information is available on our website. We can also get you a sort of a PDF version of this. Just reach out to your salesperson, so you'll have this handy for comparing things. But as you see here, all versions of Nebula include the zero-touch auto deployment of hardware, unlimited number of devices and customers that you can manage, the ability to use our app with them. Where we start running into differences here is when it comes to how much information is saved in the cloud. The free version of Nebula only stores 24 hours of information in the cloud. Plus Pack gets you a week's of data stored in the cloud, and Pro Pack gets you 1 year of data stored in the cloud. There's also a difference as to the number of admins that can be assigned to each customer. So the free version of Nebula gets you 5 admin accounts. Plus Pack gets you 8 admin accounts, and Pro Pack gives you unlimited number of admin accounts. If you are using our cloud database for authentication of users, free version gets you 50 users, Plus Pack gets you 100 users, Pro Pack has no limit on the number of users. So this is what you might use for the captive portal users. You might use this for MAC filtering, things like that, but you can still use a Radius server or an external server. This is only if you are using our cloud hosted database. And then some of the other stuff here is a advanced firmware scheduling. So all versions of Nebula let you schedule when you want firmware updates to do. Plus and Pro Pack give you more advanced granular abilities. So you can set schedules for individual devices, set schedules by types of devices, et cetera, et cetera. So you can get really granular with how you do that scheduling. Then the Plus and Pro Pack gets you email reports. So this is the ability to automatically generate a report every day, every week, whatever you want, and send it either to yourself or your customers. And if you're sending it to your customers, it will include your logo. You can add your logo into the report so they make sure that they're seeing that that's coming from you. Also things like being emailed and notified if a device goes offline, that's part of Plus and Pro Pack. We have this automatic network topology view where we basically automatically visually represent all of the devices on your network, showing you what ones are connected to which ones. That's a Plus and a Pro Pack feature. And the ability to use Wi-Fi vouchers for guest access, something like you might do in a hotel. That's a Plus and Pro Pack feature. And then you see here, a Pro Pack also unlocks a number of other things such as audit logs, where we basically store in the cloud every configuration change you make and which of your admins made those changes. And we can store that for up to a year to give you ability to go back and see, is it a configuration change? Is that why the customer's network suddenly broke? You can see who made that change, so you can talk to them and find out why. The ability to be able to do organizational wide cloning of settings, and the ability to use templates to speed up deployment of things, the ability to configure, save configurations and restore configurations, priority access to Nebula support through the cloud. That's a Pro Pack feature. Advanced Facebook Wi-Fi is a Pro Pack feature. The free version has Facebook login for guest access. Facebook Wi-Fi is a more advanced service that Facebook offers. So Facebook Wi-Fi requires Pro Pack. Facebook login does not. And a number of other things here, advanced reporting, AI on the Wi-Fi, a number of different reports and things that only come with the Pro Pack. And again, this is on our website. You can reach out to your salesperson for a PDF version of that. For those of you that want a more in-depth look at the different feature sets, or those of you that want something that you can reference in the future. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth here on ProPack. We already went through most of this on the last slide here. But again, it gets you access to more granular controls. Um, Another feature it gives you, I don't think I've got it on the slide here, is on the switches. It gives you IGMP snooping, advanced IGMP snooping settings, the ability to use templates here and to do synchronization across different sites. Advanced wireless using our giving you more granular control over how the smart steering works. The ability to give you, like I said, the ability to use Facebook Wi-Fi for captive portal, machine learning. Dynamic pre-shared key is something cool. It's also something that's part of the Pro Pack. And so basically what that lets you do is it lets you use one SSID for all of your end users connecting to the wireless network, but each user gets their own password. So there's no messing with 8021X and getting that all configured and set up. You simply give everybody the same SSID and each user gets their own pre-shared key. And then when they connect to the Wi-Fi network, it will see which pre-shared key was used to log in and automatically make assignments on VLAN settings based on that individual user's password. So that way you get the convenience of 8021X, right? The ability that when an employee leaves, you can simply turn off their network access, but without the hassles of having to configure and set up 8021X. This is just talking here about the machine learning view, where basically we're tracking in real time the performance of all the different wireless devices and seeing which ones have issues, which ones don't. And then using machine learning here to be able to tweak your network to try to optimize things for those users, whether that's forcing them to disconnect from the AP they're currently connected on and forcing them to roam or making changes to the channels being used, things like that we can do automatically with the ProPack. So again, more advanced IGMP settings here on the switches. The ability, if you're using our 1350 series switches, you can set them up to automatically power cycle a device if the device becomes non-responsive. So that'll happen automatically if the device goes offline or stops responding. So it'll help reboot them. So that's sort of a cool feature that the ProPack offers there. If you're doing IPTV, which most of you are not, it gives you some advanced machine learning and reporting that goes on with that. And on the gateway side of things here, again, advanced firmware scheduling, automatic network topology view, VPN topology views, and additional reports and alerts that you get. So here's the automatic network topology view showing you all the different devices and what's plugged into what. So again, a nice tool to have when trying to troubleshoot some connectivity issues, um, figuring out, what's connected to what. So that's it for ProPack. Now we'll talk about the MSP pack. So this is a new type of license that we just launched a few months ago. So this is designed, obviously, based on the name. Those of you that are a managed service provider may be interested in doing it, using this. So while Nebula devices are linked to require a license for each individual device, the MSP license is linked to an individual admin account. So it unlocks features for every customer of yours, every site of yours that you are managing with that admin account. So it gives you access here to an MSP view. So this shows you all of your customers, something you can see already with Nebula, but gives you a lot of extra additional data. So you can see the status of their Nebula licenses, whether they're expired or coming up to expired, how many sites they have for each of your customers, how many devices are online, how many devices are offline, devices that may be having connectivity issues, things like that. So it just gives you a little bit more in-depth view at a glance as to what is going on with your customers' networks. And there are some enhancements that are coming here in the next few weeks to give even more utility to this view. So here's a complete breakdown of the different features. We give you that MSP portal view. And this is a menu option that you will see when you're on the dashboard. It shows up over here. So it makes it really easy to get to it no matter which customer you are or how deep you are into configuration. And that includes a button to create new orgs. Again, you can create new orgs without it, but it just makes it a little bit more convenient at finding it. We give you the ability to brand the Nebula interface with your logo and remove our support details and replace them with your support details. So if you've got customers and you're giving them access to the Nebula interface to see what's going on, it will now be branded with your information. And we've added a new feature here called Teams. So we make it easier for you to manage your admin accounts and which sites or which customers of yours those admins have access to. So that's a new tool that just makes it that much easier to manage multiple admins across multiple customers, and the ability to synchronize some settings between different customers. So now we'll talk about security licenses. So what we talked about before with ProPack and PlusPack, those were Nebula Control Center licenses. MSP View, or the MSP license, that is a Nebula Control Center license. Now we want to talk about security devices. So if you are using a NSG gateway, or you are using one of our USG Flex gateways, or in the future an ATP gateway, and managing that through the Nebula Cloud, there are additional UTM licenses that you may need if you want to offer those features. So if you're using an NSG, we offer a NSS security pack. So that unlocks for you additional reporting for IDP, gives you application patrol, the ability to know and be able to recognize network traffic generated by different apps and know which apps are making those, the ability to do content filtering and antivirus. If you are using a USG Flex, then we offer the UTM Security Pack, which unlocks web filtering, IPS, application patrol, anti-malware, Secu Reporter, or our independent sort of cloud-based reporting software, collaborative detection and response, being able to basically coordinate between the gateway and your access points for security functionality automatically. And then we also have a secure Wi-Fi license. So this is for your USG Flex, and it basically allows you to take a access point and turn it into a VPN appliance on anybody's network. Since it's an AP that goes behind the gateway, there's no need to replace your customer's router with a UTM or VPN appliance router. Instead, your access point automatically creates that tunnel and basically allows you to take a device such as your laptop from the office back to your home. It will have the same SSID available and give you access to the same network resources as if you were connecting to the AP locally in your office. So that's another license that's available on the USG Flexes to unlock some additional cool features. So this is showing here our suggestions for the best practices when doing work from home. So at the office, you are using a USG Flex series. It will create a GRE tunnel back to these additional remote access points that your users would use most likely at their homes, or it could also be small remote offices, and make sure everything is being pushed back through that secure tunnel back to the office. We suggest using 802.1x user authentication to make sure only authenticated users can get on that SSID. And you can still set up that AP to use other SSIDs that don't go over the VPN. So it can still be used for home networks as well. But anything that connects to that special SSID will be VPN back to the office. So if you'd like to use more and you haven't played with Nebula yet, we do have a live demo there for you. You can simply go to nebula.zyxel.com. Log in using the username nebula@zyxel.com and use the password Nebula Demo with N in Nebula and the D in demo capitalized. And you'll be able to log into a demo site and play around with it yourself. You can also reach out to your salesperson. So David Chen, Jacob, Andy, and let them know, hey, you'd like to test drive Nebula yourself. And as long as you are one of our registered partners, part of our partner program, we can hook you up with a 60-day hardware demo where we'll send you some hardware that you can test out and play with. So that, guys, that concludes today's webinar. I hope you found it helpful. Again, if you had any questions, send them in using the question and answer interface in Zoom so I can see those. So far, there are no questions. My email information is up there on the screen. It is Sean R. Sean is spelled S-H-A-W-N. Then you follow that up with the letter R at Zyxel.com. Feel free to give me feedback on today's questions. Ask me stuff offline. Give me ideas that you may have for additional webinars you'd like to see us do that you would find helpful for either yourself or your employees. In addition, we do have user forums on our website. I think it's just forum.zyxel.com. So you can reach out and talk to other Nebula users to help each other out with the situations. These forums are monitored by our headquarters, including both the R&D and the product management teams. So you may see them occasionally waiting in to respond to things, but they're also keeping track of what it is you guys are talking about to get ideas for future feature enhancements and prioritization and things like that. For those of you already using Nebula, there will be a minor update rolling out hopefully next week, and then some additional updates rolling out throughout July. We're doing some things here such as making it easier to manage your licenses. A lot of focus has gone into improving that license management interface, making it easier for you to figure out which devices need licenses, when they need licenses, how many licenses you have that are not already assigned. So that's all coming over the next few weeks. We will have the ability to transfer licenses between organizations and soon transfer licenses between devices across organizations. So a lot of enhancements coming over the next few weeks for you in addition to what's there today. So I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you guys taking a chunk out of your day to listen to me talk. Thank you.